So, friend of the show, Dylan Does Basketball, released this video called How the Boston Celtics Built a Super Team. Is it going to make me mad? I don't know. The link to his video will be in the description down below regardless. But let's get straight into it, man.
The Boston Celtics should be ashamed of themselves for the performance that they're putting up right now.
Tuesday night, the Celtics season ended at the hands of the Brooklyn Nets, and by Wednesday morning, things had changed dramatically.
Did anybody have this on their Celtics offseason bingo card?
The Celtics have their next head coach.
It's Ime Udoka.
Ime Udoka is facing disciplinary action.
I miss this guy, man. God, what a guy, man. The one that got away, chat. Listen, I think Joe Mazzulla has grown on me, man, but I still feel like there was just something there. You know what I'm saying? There was continuity there with Ime that I wanted to explore. You know what I'm saying? But someone just had to snitch. God, it's not even any of our business, man.
Now the question, is Joe Mazzulla the man for the job?
Can we take a step back and talk about this Celtics starting lineup and just how good it is?
These guys are absolutely blitzing the league right now.
God damn!
The time is June 2021. In the NBA world, the first round of the playoffs had just come to a conclusion. The Big Three Brooklyn Nets, led by Kevin Durant, had just humiliated the Boston Celtics, effortlessly beating them in 5. From top to bottom, the Celtics...
I was there, dog. I gonna lie, that was one of those games where I just needed to... I'm glad I went to those games. I watched one of the, 20 games Harden, Kyrie, and KD was on the same team. Boy, that was beautiful basketball, dog. I can't lie. That was beautiful basketball being played out there.
For a complete train wreck. The 2020-21 season saw Boston win their fewest games since 2014. Their roster was mediocre and ravaged with poor contracts.
God.
To make matters worse, Danny Ainge, the longtime team general manager, shockingly stepped down in a move that put Brad Stevens, a coach with no front office experience, in charge to clean up the mess. The narrative was stronger than ever. The Boston Celtics, once believed to have the brightest future in the league, had squandered their good fortune and ruined everything. A team that everyone believed would win at least one championship now appeared to be on the brink of blowing it up and trading their stars. Believe it or not, this was the harsh reality that the Celtics were facing back in 2021. But
one too long ago. That was 3 years ago. And some motherfuckers want to make y'all believe that this team has just been stacked this whole fucking time. It's been a super team this whole time, but it wasn't too long ago when I didn't know the future of the Celtics. I didn't know if we was about to trade Tatum. I don't know, dog. But to be where we're at 3 years later, it has been a rapid turnaround. I will say that, because even in the 22 season, within that season, the turnaround was crazy. I still remember RJ Barrett's game winner against us. That shit hurt. But yeah, we've been dominant for a cool 2.5 years.
When we look at them in 2024, they're in a better spot than ever. In the 2023-24 season, the Celtics far and away won the most games out of any other team, and had the highest point differential while doing so. They built a dominant roster, boasting the best starting 5 in the league, to go along with a lethal bench. No other team matches them in star power. So how did they do it? How did the...
If we're talking about name value, sure. But in terms of talent, I don't see how Denver isn't as talented as us. I don't see how OKC isn't as talented as us. Maybe that y'all gonna think I'm throwing bail and trying to lower the blow or whatever, but I truly think that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
The Boston Celtics, who appeared dead in the water in 2021, salvaged their franchise and built the best roster in the NBA within just a few years. Today, we'll be looking at just that, and analyzing how the Boston Celtics went from stuck in the middle to a super team.
Now that's the question I really want to have. Is this team really a super team? Because I've had those discussions a lot this year. I personally still don't think so. I think super teams are relative term to the era. What a super team is now isn't what a super team was back in the day. I also think a super team, as vague as the criteria sounds, is a team that strikes fear in people's hearts. When LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh formed, oh my God, how the fuck do you stop that team? When whatchamacallit, when KD went to the Warriors, oh my God, how do you stop that team? I'm gonna keep it a stack. When LeBron and AD came together and they got the help that they got, a lot of us were sitting here saying, oh my God, how the fuck do you stop that team? But with the Celtics, I think there is a game plan. There's so many doubts with this team that I can't look at them as a super team to me.
In order to understand
really
how
good
the
team,
Celtics
but
saved themselves from NBA purgatory,
it's a really good
we
team.
must detail how they found themselves in such a position to begin with. 2 years before their collapse in 2019, the Celtics had incredibly high expectations, only to falter in the most embarrassing way imaginable. The 2018-19 Celtics, after being projected by many NBA analysts to win upwards of 67 games, won just 49, and were embarrassed in the second-round series versus the Bucks in a 5-game loss. Drama seeped out of the franchise from every corner, with star point guard Kyrie Irving being the culprit of much of the tension.
When we talk about most disappointing Celtics seasons in recent memory, this got to be the one, for real. Because I would even say, even though 2021 we had a worse record, I didn't have high expectations going into that season. I'm going to keep it a stack. But there were pretty high expectations for this team specifically to at the very least be clear-cut championship contenders, or on some, they can be everyone else in the league outside of the Warriors type of timing. Come to find out in 2019, though, the Bucks were on a different level, different territory. There were a lot of chemistry issues with this team. There were a lot of ego problems in the locker room with this team. That wasn't just Kyrie. And it was stressful as shit. This season right here, boy, I hate this season.
After promising he'd re-sign with the team in October 2018, in June 2019, he dipped to the Brooklyn Nets after playing horribly in the 2019 playoffs. But it wasn't just drama. The Celtics team played a brand of basketball that was isocentric and selfish. Players focused more on their stats and less on team play, leading to an unwatchable product on the court. For all these reasons and more, the ultra-talented 2019...
Yeah, there was just too many people that deserved... And honestly, in hindsight, rightfully so, felt as if they deserved X amount of shots on the team. Like, I need y'all to understand, Gordon Hayward was a marquee free agency signing. Kyrie Irving is Kyrie Irving. Jaylen Brown is a top 3 overall pick that honestly has been, he's been pretty consistent up until this point. He needs more touches as he's trying to develop into the player that he is. Jason Tatum, number 3 overall pick in 2018. Not in practice, but in hindsight, really the number 1 overall pick of that draft. You know what I'm saying? He also balled out in the playoffs when Kyrie and Gordon Hayward came down. Al Horford, another guy, another marquee free agency name. And on top of that, you got a guy like Terry Rozier that went off in the playoffs. A guy like Marcus Morris went off in the playoffs. And just so many different things that no one was really on the same page. This was a season supposed to be about winning a championship, but it turned into, I got to prove that I'm worthy of building around. And at the end of it, it ended up just boiling down to 7-0. And thank God it did. Because everyone else, in hindsight, well, it wasn't. Come on, gang. Come on, bro.
Celtics failed to win anything of note after surprisingly reaching the Eastern Conference Finals 1 year before. This poor season put the franchise into a panic mode, and their anxiety was shown in free agency. In the summer of 2019, the Celtics, after losing Al Horford and Kyrie Irving, were desperate to fill the now large hole on their team. So they handed a max contract to Kemba Walker, an all-star guard. Within just a few months of playing with the team, Walker would succumb to disastrous knee injuries. As it turns out, signing a 6-foot-tall 29-year-old with years of mileage was risky, and this max contract would prove to be quite a thorn in the Celtics' side. The C's lost a bunch of talented players in free agency, but despite this, their 2019-20 campaign was still quite impressive. The vibes were much higher than the previous year, and the wins followed. The Celtics were in the 3rd seed and won 48 games out of 72. This was mostly due to the great play of Jason Tatum, who made his first All-Star appearance.
This was a fun season. I like the season. I understand. I think we still capped out in the ECF. Was it the ECF or the second round? I'm pretty sure it was the second round. It might be the ECF. I don't know. This was the come out party for Jason Tatum to me in terms of, all right, this is our guy moving forward. But I will say, I think something that people forget about the season was people still didn't know who the man of the team was. Kemba Walker was a guy that just came off of a 30-point per game season. He was looking to be the Kyrie replacement, and for the majority of the season, he was playing fairly well. So we didn't know who the best player of this team was, and we were still trying to have that, that discoverability aspect of the team, that discoverability phase of the team, the identity crisis of the team. So yeah, it was fun though, because Gordon Hayward, this was probably his best season as a Celtic. Jaylen Brown was good this season. Kemba was good this season. JT was good this season. But still, whose team it was still wasn't honestly figured out.
Along with Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Gordon Hayward. Another all-star on the team was Kemba Walker, who quite literally played his last good stretch of games from October 2019 to February 2020. After the 2020
was
All-Star
so fun,
game,
bro.
he was never the same due to injuries.
Yeah.
In the bubble, the Celtics were outplayed by the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, losing the series in 6. A disappointing ending. But with all things considered, this season was a huge positive and a step in the right direction for the organization. The miserable 2018-19 year had been washed away by this fun and exciting team that focused on sharing the ball and prioritizing unselfishness. However, while the organization appeared to be making progress, behind closed doors, things were falling apart.
Really?
During the infamous bubble in the fall of 2020, longtime Celtics coach Brad Stevens was beginning to lose his mind.
Oh, yeah.
Stevens described the Orlando bubble as isolating, and often coped by walking around outside, calling it the walk of sanity. It was reported that he was worn down, and he had begun hating coaching. Not a good sign. The Celtics needed him, and if he was losing a passion for coaching, that would be an issue.
Oh, I didn't know this. I thought they was about to tackle something else. Oh my god, damn.
On top of this, the team's roster outside of the top few players was looking more and more suspect. They lost Gordon Hayward, a starter, to the Charlotte Hornets, for the quote-unquote largest trade exception in NBA history, aka nothing. Then in free agency, they brought in a few old washed-up bench players like Tristan Thompson and Jeff Teague. Sorry, Jeff, I still love your podcast though, man.
I was like, what?
Many of Danny Ainge's first-round draft misses over the years were starting to bite him. Guys like Romeo Langford, Aaron Nesmith, and Carson Edwards were all players who contributed nothing to the team, despite the C's spending valued picks on them. So when actually examining the 2020-21 Celtics roster, it was quite the horrifying sight. We didn't know it at the time, but Kemba Walker's career was basically over due to his knee problems. So that left Tatum, Brown, Smart, and literally 2K auto-generated players.
I think Jaylen Brown was injured too in 2021. That team was so bad, y'all. This is why it pisses me off, this whole, when is he going to figure it out? Like, because I remember it was 3 years ago. This team was ass. So for y'all to revise it, 2019, that team was ass. For y'all to revise history and talk about how this team has been a super team for fucking 6 years, when? 2018 was an overachievement. We weren't supposed to be that good. We weren't supposed to make it that deep. And we was injured.
They tried to add depth pieces, like when they acquired the Magic's Evan Fournier, but that was just, So in reality, while it surprised some how bad the Celtics performed in 2020-21, it was kind of predictable if you had followed them closely. To top it off, injuries sabotaged them. Out of 72 games, Marcus Smart played just 48, Kemba Walker played 43, and Robert Williams, who's always injured, let's be honest, played 52. Yeah. Even worse was a wrist injury to Jaylen Brown, the team's second best player, one that sidelined him for the entire 2021 playoffs. As a result, Jason Tatum was left on an island by himself. Despite his solid efforts, in round 1, his team was mollywopped by the big three.
I think in hindsight, though, 2021 was a season that Jason Tatum needed. I think for this to be our guy moving forward, he didn't have enough reps being the number one guy his first 3-4 years in the league because of everything that went on with Kyrie and Kemba Walker. So because typically when you draft a guy, you give him touches out the gate. You get him the reps to be a number one so that when he elevates to that level he needs to be at, once we get him the supporting cast, everything just seems so natural because he's gotten these reps as a number one. I think that's what we've been seeing with Anthony Edwards this season. That's what we've been seeing with a LeBron James, you know what I'm saying? A Steph Curry. Well, Steph Curry maybe not, but you know, a John Morant. You know, all of these names that I can think of that I'm honestly blanking on. I don't know. I'm blanking on names right now. But Jason Tatum, he didn't have those number one reps early on in his career. You know, he was always a second, third option. He could be the best player on any given night, but it wasn't consistent. The offense didn't revolve around JT. It revolved around him a little bit more in 2020, but I think in 2021, because of all the injuries, because Gordon Hayward's gone, because Kemba Walker's injured, now it's, yo, JT, this is your team. Put the fucking stats up. Get the shots up. And I think this was his first season averaging 27. But I will say, though, I still think the passiveness that we've been seeing from JT in these playoffs so far, I truly still think, and honestly, over the last couple of years, I still think that's a product of those first 3 years in the league that he had. You know what I'm saying? When JT came into the league trying to figure out what NBA basketball meant, that's what NBA basketball meant to him, is to share the ball, is to be a secondary third option. So he hasn't had those number one reps. I think he definitely is ready for it now, but it's just interesting to me. It's just interesting to me his career trajectory, because it's not orthodox, bro. It's not orthodox for a guy this what we would find out would be as talented as he is. You're supposed to give that guy shots out the gate. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't get those shots out the gate.
In Brooklyn of Kyrie, KD, and James Harden in 5. To be a Celtics fan during this time was hellish. Seeing the hated villain Kyrie Irving not only beat you, but step on your logo was the ultimate get back.
This was the game I went
to.
to.
The Celtics were crushed. So how in the world did they manage to go from this mess to making an NBA Finals trip literally 1 year later? Well, it all stemmed from incredible management. But change didn't occur immediately. Right after the Celtics were eliminated, it was announced that Danny Ainge was retiring. This ended up being a bit of a lie, as he joined the Utah Jazz a few months later. What really happened was that both sides were ready to part ways. Immediately replacing him was Brad Stevens, the coach, in a move that left the basketball world skeptical. A head coach undertaking the responsibility of trades, free agents, and draft decisions out of nowhere? The jokes write themselves. But rather than this turning into a disaster like many expected it to be, Brad Stevens instead turned out to be one of the greatest executives in the team's history. And I
wonder if that's something that's going to be normal in the future, is transitioning a head coach into a front office job. Just because in my head it kind of makes sense, right? Like you have this core in front of you that you know how to maximize them. Brad Stevens was also a great basketball mind, so he knew how to, make pieces work. So you have this guy that knows the meat and potatoes of your team, the nuts and bolts of your team. You put him to a front office position where he can essentially pick out who is going to be on the team or not. And then effectively, you just gotta hire a head coach that kind of fits the scheme that you want the team to be built around. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that before, though.
He went to work quickly after being promoted. One of Stevens,
especially if they win a championship this season, like that's gonna be a case study that teams will look at, in my opinion. But if they don't, hey, what the fuck are they doing?
His first moves that helped propel the Celtics from trash to cash was the Kemba Walker trade. Just 2 years after signing the All-Star to a max contract, they kicked him out the door, trading him in a first-rounder to the Thunder for Al Horford. That's right. After leaving and signing with the Sixers for nearly $100 million in 2019, the big fella was back.
Yeah.
Stevens was determined to get off Kemba's lengthy contract, so he acquired the also highly paid, but less so, Horford and gave up a pick to do so. Many viewed this deal as desperate, but in reality, it was a steal. Al Horford turned into an elite starting center for the Celtics that brought immeasurable value, especially in the postseason. 10 days later, Ime Udoka, an assistant coach for various teams over the years like the Sixers, Nets, and Spurs, was brought in as the head coach. Ignoring how this ended, and it's hard to ignore, but bear with me, ignoring how this ended, in the one quick season he worked with Boston, Udoka was sensational.
bringing in Ime, the way they brought it in is how exactly you bring in an assistant coach who has not been a head coach in the NBA. You bring him into a situation that's rebuilding. And I understand in year one, they somehow made it to the finals and overachieved like crazy. But that's how you bring in an assistant coach. You don't bring in and I'm talking to the Lakers indirectly, but not directly. You don't bring in an assistant coach who's never had a head coaching job in the NBA into the fire the way the Lakers are about to do with whoever they hire. You bring him on like this. And if they make it to the finals year one, that's great. But you don't give them championship or bust expectations right out the gate. And that's what really makes me mad about the whole Ime situation, is because year one to me was an overachievement. That season was not supposed to be the season that it was going into that season. You know what I'm saying? And even going into the playoffs, like, bro, did I have us beating the Bucks? Yo, that was a prove me wrong. Oh my God, we just did that type of series, bro, because the Bucks were really good. Giannis was really good. That series, dog. But nah, that's why, because to me it was the start of something great, and for that shit to end as quick as it did, that shit did piss me off real fast, real quick.
Brought in a tough, hard-nosed mentality, connecting with the players on the team and rallying them behind him. Him being there, even if it was for a year, taught players like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown much of the defensive discipline they carry to this day. These were the two major deals in the summer of 2021, but other minor moves like acquiring Josh Richardson for Moses Brown or signing Sam Hauser were also important to the future of the team. On day one of the 2021-22 regular season, the Celtics had improved slightly, but overall, they still needed more help. Infamously, they started this year playing 500 basketball, constantly losing games in the most frustrating fashion imaginable. Whether it was blowing big leads, losing to buzzer-beating threes, or failing to execute in crunch time, the Celtics were a miserable watch.
There's something about a Celtics loss that is fun to just make fun of. For some reason, our losses they just hurt. They just hurt. It's either a crazy blowout or like a crazy choke job. It's never just, we lost by 8. We lost by 10. It's just,
The peak of their despair came on January 6, 2022 in a game against the New York Knicks on the road,
the RJ Barrett
where
game
the
winner
C's blew a 25-point lead, losing on a game-winning bank shot by RJ Barrett, one that left the entire Boston team feeling enraged. It was an unbelievable ending, but it perfectly encapsulated how undisciplined this group was from top to bottom. Did they want to be great, or did they want to give half effort every game and pray for their talent to bail them out? Fans were demanding Ime Udoka be fired, and some even went as far as to request the breakup of the Jaylen Brown-Jason Tatum duo. It was awful, and all of the rivals were laughing at their hopelessness. But on this very day, something inside the Celtics changed. This was the game-winning shot that transformed them from a mediocre squad to a contending one.
I think the reason why people are so hesitant on the JB JT duo is because I don't think JT is versatile enough to kind of treat it like a LeBron D Wade duo. I think the makeup of this duo is more so like Scottie and MJ. But if Scottie was the one and MJ was, from a play style perspective, if Scottie was the one, MJ was the two. That's how they're running it. But Jaylen Brown and MJ, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you were to reverse the role and revolve their team around Jaylen Brown, he's not good enough to be MJ. You know what I'm saying? So it is a weird pairing, the way that JB and JT work. A lot of people have called out, like, how many times have JB and JT have had great games together? I would need to look back. I honestly, like, I can't think of a marquee game off the top of my head where they were both great. You know how, like, you know, Jokic and Jamal Murray, they be like, Jokic is gonna have his 30-point efficient triple-double, and Jamal Murray still gonna have his, I don't know, 35 bomb. Like, there's not a lot of games like that. I do think there's a recent game against the Cavs where Jaylen Brown was playing well alongside Jason Tatum. Wait, hold on. Let Let me check. I think it was this game right here. Game 3. Jaylen Brown had 28 points, 9 rebounds on 77% shooting. If you want to consider this a game where both of them are great, then be my guest. My only thing is, I know a great Jason Tatum game is better than 33 points on 44% shooting. If this was 35 on 48, like, I'd count that, but 44 is a little too low.
At this time, the record stood at 18 and 21. 1 month later, they were 30 and 25. They started to win, but the real jump from solid status to contender status came during the 2022 trade deadline, where Brad Stevens played other teams like it was 2K. His best move was trading Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, and a first to the Spurs.
This trade right here was crazy.
White, who wasn't looked at as anything special before this deal, evolved into a phenomenal player for this.
I didn't think Derek White was going to be this good. I thought Derek White was a calm little pickup, but for him to be all-star caliber now and to be one of the heart and souls of this team, I didn't see that, chat.
This trade has turned into a steal. White has been instrumental to the Celtics' success, turning into a lockdown guard with an elite three-point shooting ability. Then, Stevens made 2 moves that cleared up all the useless bench players from the roster. They traded guys like Bol Bol and PJ Dozier to the Magic for a second rounder, and moved Dennis Schroeder, Enes Kanter, and Bruno Fernando to the Rockets for Daniel Tice. Was this deadline a complete overhaul of their team? No. Did they acquire a superstar like their Eastern Conference rival Philadelphia? Also no. But the Celtics made just the right amount of moves to add more to the supporting cast Jason Tatum had been needing, and in that moment, everything clicked. The Celtics were reminded of who they were. In the months of February and March, they went on a rampage, destroying any team that came in their path. They beat the Sixers by damn near 50 points on the road, beat the Nets by 35 at Barclays, and beat the Warriors by 22. They were playing out of their mind, going from 25 and 25 in late January to 51 and 31 by the end of the year, which means they went 26 and 5 in their last 31 games.
Oh, second half 2022 was fun, man.
Why were they so dominant? A few reasons. For one, their three-point shooting during this run was 38%, which ranked number 1 in the league. Secondly,
yo, did y'all see that form, chat? Y'all see how, yo, that's a crazy, how the fuck, wait, he's shooting the ball like these. What the fuck? That's actually, and look at how high the release point is. Look, chat, look at, like, his elbow is level to his fucking eye. That's a crazy release point.
Secondly, the players started buying into Ime Udoka's system, which prioritized defensive toughness and strong mental fortitude. Most famously, Udoka was once heard asking his team, "Why are you playing like such a-holes?" in the huddle. He knew how to push the right buttons and fire them up like no one else. Lastly, this squad was deep. There were stars like JT and JB, good starters like Rob Williams, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, and key bench pieces like Grant Williams and Derek White. In the 2022 playoffs, the Celtics performed well, first beating the Nets in round 1. The Brooklyn...
That's one of my favorite series as a Celtics man, because Nets fans was talking hella shit. And I will say, man, because there was a possibility that the Nets did beat us, there was a lot of doubt. You know, the other team had KD and Kyrie. You know, are the Celtics just a second half fluky ass team? And if the Nets beat us, the fact that the Nets would have a better shot of winning a championship before the Celtics did, when the Nets got robbed by the Celtics, but they're the ones that end up making Kyrie work. They're the ones that end up getting KD. All of this other bullshit, dog. I did not want to lose to Brooklyn, but let me say this too, man. I understand it in history it will go down as a sweep, but it was definitely like a Lakers Nuggets sweep where, boy, every single game got me sweating. Every single game, like game 1 was literally ended on a game winner. Every single game was tough, dog. It was tough.
The Nets had laid the hammer down on Boston just 1 year prior, and the C's wanted revenge. Many were hyping up this series as one of the greatest, most competitive round 1 matches in NBA history. But the Celtics wiped the floor with Brooklyn, eliminating them in a sweep. This was extremely impressive. The Nets were favored to win it all before the 21-22 season began, but Boston took their lunch money and embarrassed Kevin Durant. KD was locked up. The C's swarmed him on the defensive end and held him to one of his worst performing series in his career. Against the Bucks in round 2 without Chris Middleton. Boston played a little less perfect, even going down 3-2 thanks to a crunch time implosion in Game 5. But they remained focused, even after trailing in this series, and responded well.
This series got me even more stressed out, dog. Oh, God. But Game 6, JT? Yo, let me tell you this right now, man. One of the craziest playoff performances I've ever seen. Down 3-2 on the road. This was kind of like being on the other side of the LeBron Game 6 game. Obviously not as drastic, not as legacy defining. But this, bro, every single shot JT made was a swish. Hit nothing but net. I don't know the last time I seen a motherfucker had a performance like that, dog. And look at these buckets, too, because he's about to show it. Every single one was swish. All net.
Tatum famously had an incredible performance in the elimination Game 6 on the road. In Milwaukee, he scored 46 points, hitting dozens of clutch shots to steer the C's to a victory.
Look at this.
In Game 7, it was Grant Williams who hit 7 3-pointers to put the Bucks out. This team hit you from every angle, and their excellent run continued as they eliminated the Heat in the conference finals in 7 as well. Nets, Bucks.
In 2022, between the Bucks series and the Heat series, stressful ass series, man. Even the Nets, again, even when the sweep is stressful, that says a lot. Celtics fans got trauma, dog. Celtics fans are in a toxic relationship with their fucking team, dog. It's like getting blue balls every single year. That's what it feels like. Oh, this the year. Womp womp. For the last 2 years, at least.
Heat. All three had eliminated the Celtics in years past, and now the C's had gotten revenge.
It was a memorable, fantastic run, but unfortunately, this success was remembered by Celtics fans and Celtics fans only. The greater NBA world as a whole doesn't remember who finishes in second place, and unfortunately, in the NBA Finals, the C's would get hit with the reality check.
Yeah, Wardelius.
The far more experienced veteran Golden State Warriors were on a mission in the 2022 Finals, and they handed the Celtics the fattest of L's. After Boston opened up to a 2-1 lead, they collapsed, losing 3 in a row. Jason Tatum played horribly. He was locked up by Andrew Wiggins and scored just 13 points on 6 of 18 shooting in the closeout Game 6. Boston's offense fell apart. They failed to score over 100 points.
These last 3 games is when I saw the narrative change around JT. I'm gonna be honest, me and Damo were talking about it last night on Playback. I really do think the JT hate started after Game 7 of the Celtics Heat series when the Kobe text came out. That's when motherfuckers saw Jason Tatum as corny. And then for him to choke it up these last 3 games against Golden State, that didn't help his case. That didn't help his case at all. And then for the following season, for the Celtics to go to 6 against Atlanta, that didn't do any justice as well. Because that was supposed to be a sweep for that series to extend the way that it did. It wasn't supposed to go that way. And then whatchamacallit, second round versus Philly. The way he played in games 3, 4, and 5, I believe 3, 4, 5, and 6 was abysmal. But then obviously he made it up at the end of Game 6 and all of Game 7. And then against Miami, going down 3-0 against that 8 seed. Just wasn't enough.
In all 3 of the last losses. On the other hand, Steph Curry destroyed the Celtics' vaunted defense that had been locking up stars all playoffs long, scoring 43 points in the huge Game 4 that kept the Warriors' hopes alive. Boston choked, dropping an extremely winnable series. Just like that, their roller coaster season was over. But optimism for the future was still there. However, this finals achieving squad was about to lose one of its most important pieces in the absolute craziest situation imaginable. In September 2022, a bombshell headline was released to sports social media. The Celtics franchise had discovered that head coach Ime Udoka, the heart and soul of the organization, had been having an affair with a female member of the team's staff. This was a direct violation against the franchise's code of conduct, and it would result in a 1-year suspension for Udoka. It was a shocking set of events, and one that especially affected the players. According to Adrian Wojnarowski, the Celtics never got over Udoka's dismissal as the head coach, and it proved to be a huge distraction during their 2022-23 season.
Yeah, because he's the guy that got them to the finals. He was supposed to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, imagine in 2015, hypothetically, let's just say the Warriors lose. But like the magical season that they had, 67 wins, Steph Curry wins MVP, Klay has his breakout year, Draymond has his breakout year. Next season, now Steve Kerr ain't coaching them. Like the whole season. I think Steve Kerr, yeah, he missed a good portion of the beginning of that season for medical reasons, but just imagine, like, if Steve Kerr never came back. Not on that crazy shit, but man, goddamn. And he was well liked by the city, well liked by the fans, well liked by the players. Like, I get it. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess, but I don't know, man.
Udoka ended up joining the Houston Rockets in April 2023, and his replacement came in the form of the assistant coach, Joe Mazzulla. Mazzulla had been the longest tenured assistant on the team. Since 2019, he had been helping Brad Stevens and Ime from the sidelines. Now, he was getting his big chance. But it was hard to ignore the disaster that had just occurred. In the matter of weeks, the Celtics had lost their coach that they believed would have steered the ship for the next decade minimum. The man in charge of their first finals appearance in 12 years was now gone.
Because that's what I'm saying too. Like the Celtics aren't a team that switches coaches a lot. Contrary to like the rest of the league with all these coaching changes. It went from Doc Rivers from 2003 to 2013, and then Brad Stevens for the next 7 years. And with how Ime coached his team his rookie season, Ime is supposed to be that guy for the rest of this decade at the very least. For that shit to just switch after one off season, bro, that was such a blow, dog. That was such a blow. He was such a tone setter for this team, for this franchise, dog. Like, God.
Replaced by someone with no head coaching experience in Mazzulla. The 2022-23 Boston Celtics were quite the interesting team in retrospect. Their offseason, outside of the coaching disaster, saw them upgrade their depth. They acquired Malcolm Brogdon from the Pacers for half a ketchup packet and a bag of chips, aka Aaron Nesmith and a first-rounder. They then went out and signed Danilo Gallinari, which was a solid pickup, but his production ended up being nothing because he tore his ACL. So all in all, the season were really just running it back with a new coach. They performed well in the regular season, winning 57 games and earning the second seed. 57 dubs may seem like a lot, but in reality, after starting out 21-5, the C's went just 26-20 in their last 46 games. In the playoffs, it was anything but smooth sailing. They played down to their competition in an embarrassing fashion, taking 6 games to beat the 7th-seeded Atlanta Hawks. Game 5 specifically was nasty work. The Celtics blew a 13-point lead with 6 minutes in the fourth and got beat by a Trae Young game winner. The fact that it took them 6 games to beat a 41-41 team was awful, but their performance in round 2 was just as unimpressive. Against the Philadelphia 76ers, the Celtics were heavily favored, but in Game 1 at home, the Sixers managed to win, beating Boston without their superstar MVP center Joel Embiid. Once again, Boston played down to their competition, in a shameful, humiliating loss where they allowed the corpse of James Harden to drop 45.
These last 2 years have been really... I think that's a problem with the Celtics, dog. It feels like it's been a long time these last 3 years, but it's only been 3 years. Like, to be like this whole run has really only been 2.5, but these series feel like fucking years are getting taken off my life, dog. Starting from, again, 2022 first round versus Brooklyn, stressful series. Bucks, stressful series. Heat, stressful series. Golden State, stressful series. Atlanta wasn't supposed to be stressful, still ended up being stressful. Against Philly, stressful series. Miami, stressful series. That's 7 stressful series in a row, dog. Like, God, it's honestly like, it doesn't feel. I think that's the problem too that that the media is having with the Celtics this year. It doesn't feel right that the Celtics are just blowing out teams without any struggle. You know what I'm saying? That's why people like, wait. But the Celtics are supposed to play down to the Heat. Wait, but the Celtics are supposed to lose game 4 and have the series tied 2-2 going home. Like, this isn't supposed to end in 5. You know what I'm saying? Now, the series ain't over, and it still can go to 6 the way Atlanta went last season. But, like, it's just a weird feeling, you know?
Points. In Game 4, they lost on a game winner to Harden and horribly executed in the fourth quarter and overtime. In Game 5, they got booed by their own fans, being blown out in TD Garden and falling down 3-2.
I believe the Sixers are just better than the Celtics because in the end, if you really boil it down, the best player is Joel Embiid. Right. He's better than Jason Tatum. He's better than Jaylen Brown. He's better certainly than Al Horford or Marcus Smart, or we can keep going down the line.
Luckily, their talent bailed them out from the hole they had dug themselves into. After a terrible first 3 quarters in game.
Look at this, bro. I was so ready. I was so ready to kill Jason Tatum after this, dog. Verbally, not literally. Like, this performance right here is so fucking inexcusable. It makes no goddamn sense. 7 points on 1 of 14 in an elimination game. But the pitchforks was out.
6. In the fourth, Jason Tatum went off, scoring 16 points to grab the W. In Game 7, JT went off once more, scoring 51, in a dominant showing that sent Joel Embiid and James Harden to Cancun. Listen, a win is a win, but the Celtics had a bad habit of making things quite difficult for themselves, and taking way longer than they should have to finish off their opponent. This was especially highlighted in the Eastern Conference Finals, where the Celtics played the 8-seeded Heat, and dropped the first 3 games to face the brink of elimination. Jimmy Butler, Caleb Martin, and the rest of the Heat squad were shredding the Celtics, outplaying them in the fourth quarter of Games 1 and 2, and simply destroying them in Game 3. It was incredibly disappointing, but if there was one team that could complete the first 3-0 comeback in history, it was these ultra-skilled Celtics. They embarked on just that, winning Games 4 and 5, then taking Game 6 on the road thanks to a miracle buzzer-beating layup completed by Derek White.
The definition of just making it so hard, you know what I'm saying? Like, this to me is the epitome of what it's like to be a Celtics fan. This series right here, this shot, this moment right here was, bro, we're trying to come back from 3-0, and even in that third game, trying to force a Game 7, it got to come down to a shot like this, bro. Like,
somehow, the Celtics had tied the series, and had all of the momentum heading into Game 7 at home. But
all of it, 3 straight wins at home? Bro, this game's, oh god, this Game 7 pisses me the fuck off, dog.
Just the first play of this winner-go-home game, Jason Tatum hurt his ankle on a drive to the
first
rim.
Play!
This stabbed the Celtics in their chest. Immediately, the best player had just lost all of his physical abilities.
Again, I'm not taking it away from Miami. You face who the fuck is in front of you, but as a Celtics fan, it's because Jason Tatum ain't gotta get injured a lot too. He's not a Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, AD ass player, dog. He's not even a Jimmy Butler level player when it comes to injuries. He doesn't get injured like that, dog. And for a freak injury like that to happen the first play of Game 7, that shit pissed me the fuck off, bro.
And no one else was able to step up.
And my eyes burning.
Handed the reins as the first option, played horribly, shooting 8 of 23, 1 of 9 from 3, and turning the ball over 8 times. He was mocked on social media for his poor dribbling ability, often being pickpocketed when he tried to use his left hand. The Heat blew out Boston and advanced to the finals. The Celtics, once known for their grittiness in 2022, were now being clowned on for their recklessness in 2023. A talented roster with championship aspirations thought all of the glory would be handed to them on a silver platter, only to be defeated by an opponent that simply worked harder for it.
I just don't think offensively we were also consistent enough. Honestly, these last couple Celtics teams kind of remind me of like what Minnesota is now. Like defensively, always solid. But offensively, it's either hit or miss. Like, Jaylen Brown is kind of like Cat. You know what I'm saying? And then all the other role players. I mean, we do have more consistent offensive weapons around JT than Ant, but JT is also less consistent than Ant. But defensively, we've always been solid. I think that's the one thing I am excited about this playoff run is the fact that we are more consistent offensively. But yeah, nah.
This was a wake-up call for Brad Stevens. Despite his best efforts at constructing this team, still more was needed. He had some difficult decisions to make, but rather than panicking, he made the right moves to help them succeed. Immediately once the 2023 offseason began, the Celtics swung for the fences. Marcus Smart, the longest tenured Celtics player of nearly 10 years, was traded to the Grizzlies in a 3-team deal that saw the Celtics receive Kristaps Porzingis and 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, that shit hurt, man. When I got the Woj noti, because if y'all remember, it wasn't supposed to be Marcus Smart, bro. It was supposed to be Malcolm Brogdon. It was supposed to be Malcolm Brogdon. The deal was already set up for Malcolm Brogdon to go. And then Malcolm Brogdon's physicals didn't, I don't know what happened with Malcolm Brogdon's physicals. And then next Woj noti I got was Marcus Smart is traded for Kristaps Porzingis. And I'm just like, yo, what the fuck? What the hell is going on? But in hindsight, bro, I think it was a move that was necessary. It was a move that was necessary. Not only from an X's and O's perspective of Kristaps Porzingis does change the makeup of this team when he's on the court. Best pick and pop that we've had in Boston in this recent era. Also adds mid-post presence as well. Another isolation scorer on top of JT and JB. You know what I'm saying? Elite rim protection, not elite rim protection, really good rim protection. I'll say that. But also when it comes to the makeup of this team, at some point, JT and JB had to be the face of this team from a leadership perspective. And I think if these playoffs so far haven't made it clear that this is their team, that this team's culture is built around those two guys, I don't know what will. And while Marcus Smart was, hey, I love him. He's the heart and soul of this team, and I would like him on this team. And if I was in charge of the Celtics, I am paying however much I need to pay to get Marcus Smart a fucking ring. But nevertheless, the heart and soul of this team not being Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown was hurting it, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, the young pups need to be the big dogs now. They need to be the leaders of this team. And I think this team, this change right here forced that to be the case. You know what I'm saying? Getting rid of Kyrie, getting rid of Kemba, getting rid of Gordon Hayward were those moves that put those two specifically in position to, all right, gang, this is your team. The culture of this team has to revolve around you. And I think this move right here was a further double down on that concept.
Porzingis then signed an extension. The reasoning for Boston getting picks back as well in this move was because Porzingis was a free agent and chose to opt into his player option just for this trade. So rather than losing him for nothing, the Wizards sent him to Boston in a multi-team deal. Porzingis may have been the best center the Celtics had in years, but losing Smart, the veteran leader of the group, was nothing to sneeze at. To clear up more salary, Boston then traded Grant Williams to the Mavs for a few second-rounders. They then gave a ton of moolah to Jaylen Brown, 5 years, $304 million to be exact. The largest contract in NBA history, and a risky move. That's a lot of money for a player who isn't a superstar. But to the Celtics, it showed that they fully believed in a young wing's abilities. They weren't done yet, though. A Marcus Smart replacement was needed, but where would they get one? All the elite two-way guards were locked up on contending teams, never to be traded. Do my eyes deceive me? The Bucks acquired Damian Lillard, which meant they had to get rid of Drew Holiday to do so. The Celtics saw this and pounced, calling up the Trailblazers, who had gotten Holiday, and put together a deal. Malcolm Brogdon, Rob Williams, and 2 first-rounders were soon shipped to Oregon for none other than Mr. Holiday himself. Marcus Smart replacement? Check. Brad Stevens had done it again. Now, the best starting 5 in the league had been created. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and the new guys, Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. All of them are elite on defense, excel on offense, and play hard. The roster may have been properly adjusted. However, the coaching position was still something that needed to be addressed. Joe Mazzulla's less than stellar 2023 playoff performance had some calling for his head, but Stevens disagreed, and instead allowed Mazzulla to build up his coaching staff. 2 of the league's top assistant coaches,
which was risky. I will say that, because after Game 6, after Game 3 of Miami last season, I was calling for Joe Mazzulla's head, dog. I can't lie. I thought this was a similar situation to Darvin Ham, where like, yo, Joe, listen, you're just not built to be championship ready out the gate. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think so far though, then this season, Joe Mazzulla has definitely proven me wrong. I am more confident with his prowess to be the coach of this team moving forward. To me, bro, a lot of these moves really do get justified or unjustified by this ring. I think, to me, this ring this year is so hit or miss, so championship or bust, that it's just important to the Celtics, dog. I can't lie. The team in the playoffs so far that needs this ring the most is the Celtics. Because if they do win, all of these moves get justified. Building around Jason Tatum gets justified. Not firing Joe Mazzulla gets justified. Trading Marcus Smart gets justified. Giving Jaylen Brown the Supermax get justified. But if they lose, yo, gang, you should have fired Joe Mazzulla sooner. Jason Tatum is not that guy for this franchise. Him and JB don't work. You made a mistake trading Marcus Smart for a guy who wasn't there on the court for majority of the playoffs. Like, all of these conversations happen if the Celtics don't get a ring this season. Because I'm going to keep it a stack. Brad Stevens somehow, some way does keep on pulling it off. I don't know what this team does moving forward aside from running it back. Which sometimes is the best thing you can do, dog. Like, for real. Sometimes motherfuckers overthink it. I do think in terms of the talent on this team, hey, man, maybe it's just a different luck of the draw, luck of the dice, and then we'll get it. But in terms of just realistically speaking, what this team needs to do moving forward to win a chip, everything is laid out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like the taking away from their run if they go through it, like the whole weak Eastern Conference thing. But nevertheless, they are in the weaker conference. I am going to acknowledge that. They did face Miami hobbled. They are facing Cleveland currently hobbled. If they face the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, they're about to be hobbled. Or if they face Indiana, that's a team that's honestly not supposed to be there, who have also benefited off of hobbled teams, but nevertheless, that's a bad defense they're playing. And then in the Western Conference, well, prior to yesterday, you know, Minnesota had a chance of taking out the defending champions, that inevitable last team that everyone said that, yo, if they face the Celtics in the finals, that team is still beating the Celtics in the Nuggets. But yeah, everything's just laid out. Gotta go execute. Gotta get the job done.
Sam Cassell and Charles Lee were brought in, along with a plethora of other experienced figures. It made sense why Mazzulla struggled in year one. He was thrusted into the spotlight, with no familiar faces on his staff, and his players were still left in a daze after the Ime Udoka situation. It ain't easy to win a championship under those circumstances, but now...
I'm glad the team has also bought into the Joe Mazzulla system. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that this did not become a Phoenix Suns situation where our coach is supposed to be Ime, man. Fuck this Joe guy. Like, I really love the fact that from everything that I've seen, everyone has bought into Joe Mazzulla. Like, yo, he is our coach. We gonna play like he's our coach. We got his back. He got ours. And I think Joe Mazzulla has definitely earned the trust of that locker room as well, which I'm very happy for him for, because the position he was thrusted in was not an easy position to be thrusted in. Not at all. Not at all.
With some new
Regardless of the
additions,
outcome of the season.
players were locked in, and so too was the coach. Of course, dominant success followed. In the 2023-24 season, the Celtics played flawless ball, attaining the best record in the league with the highest point differential. They achieved the most wins in one season since their championship squad back in 2008. No other team matched them in terms of star power. They have the highest offensive rating, not just in the league, but in NBA history. They rank third in defensive rating. From top to bottom, they were a perfectly rounded squad. In 2021, their team was falling apart. They had no good players outside Smart, Tatum, and Brown, had a coach that didn't want to be there, and had little financial flexibility. Now, they have a stacked roster, with their star duo playing better than ever, and a confident coaching staff ready for the challenge. But oh boy, is this challenge a big one. Can they bring home banner number 18? Well, outside of Celtics circles, there's plenty of doubt. There's doubt that Jason Tatum can be the number one superstar.
There's still doubt within Celtics circles. Because even our own Boston radio show don't even trust his fucking... No, not even that. They said if the Celtics even win, that shit ain't gonna feel right because of how weak the journey is. Like, yo, jeez.
Championship winning squad. There's criticism that Jaylen Brown, who's called overpaid, can't step up in the big moments. There's uncertainty
JB playing
that
just
Kristaps
fine.
Porzingis can't stay healthy, or doubt that Drew Holiday can produce on offense in the playoffs. There's many who believe that Joe Mazzulla is simply unqualified for the job. At the time of his hiring, many felt that there was no way Brad Stevens would ever be able to replicate winning a championship like his predecessor Danny Ainge did. There's so much skepticism and so many question marks surrounding this team. But now is the perfect opportunity to silence all their challengers who have been vehemently taunting them all these years in the Jason Tatum era. Can they do it? Regardless of what happens, what's undeniable is that the roster is phenomenal. The Celtics, despite all the drama and turmoil that has affected their organization, still remain near the top of the league when it comes to building a contender. Now it's time to execute.
And that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. Every single year, I will say this. The excuses keep running out. The experience keeps on running out. Your coach ain't a first-year head coach anymore. Jason Tatum is 26. JB is 27 now. So those boys aren't young anymore. In the playoffs so far, outside of the Nuggets, you are the most experienced, you are the most experienced roster out there. And even considering the Nuggets, the only difference between the Nuggets and this team is the fact that the Nuggets won their finals when they got there and the Celtics didn't. So who even is more experienced between them and the Nuggets? That's still up in the air, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? You got your role players. You're great on both ends statistically. You got spacing. You got shot creation. You got rim protection. Hell, even the bench guys have stepped up. Peyton Pritchard, in my opinion, is overperforming. Sam Hauser has been great off the bench. Even a guy like Luke Cornett. I used to hate Luke Cornett minutes. I fuck with Luke Cornett now. You know what I'm saying? Experience is there. Everything. The layout of the conference, the injuries. It's all in Boston's favor. It's all in Boston's favor. They just gotta execute it. And I guess that's why. That's why I understand like a lot of the criticism so far in these playoffs is because the Celtics, ideally, and they are capable so far in these playoffs. They should be 8-0. And Jason Tatum should be putting up like 30 on really good efficiency in these games. Because they are capable of it in that Eastern Conference. But nevertheless, again, fuck all them excuses. Fuck the media narratives. I'm telling you right now, the only thing that'll shut a lot of these things up is if you win a championship. I'm telling you right now, this hobbled up path that they got to the finals, motherfuckers aren't going to talk about that if they win a championship. Well, they will, like they do every single year. Brought it up for 2021 and Giannis's ring. They brought it up for 2018. They bring it up every single season. It's almost like it's just a part of the game to deal with injuries, and that's almost like that's why the Celtics load manage in the last back half of the regular season. But nevertheless, just win that ring, bro, and it'll justify everything. And with that being said, shout out to Dylan Does Basketball. Fantastic video. The super team conversation. He said, yes, it is a super team. I don't think this team is a super team, me personally. It just might be the weakest super team if it is one. I can't lie. But with that being said, links to this video will be in the description, and I'm out of here, man. Peace.